I've been involved with AIC since 2012, and it started in academia when I became the champion for the AC Level 1 certification exam at the University of Houston. And it's a passionate thing for me because in my career, I think sometimes people look at construction professionals as less than architects or engineers, those people who are licensed by different agencies. And so, since contractors are responsible, and we use the word constructors as a professional acronym, we're responsible for the execution side. And so if we don't have the very best team on the job site and the project fails, then people's lives are at risk, whether they're executing the work during the construction phase or afterwards. And you've all seen headlines when cranes collapse or buildings fall or bridges tear down. There's almost one a year, tragically. So for me, I've never understood why individual certification on the contractor side wasn't a priority. And so that's what sort of propelled me to be involved. At the time, I was helping the kids prepare for the exam because we've all been there where we're graduating from schools and you think your education's over once you get that diploma in your hand, when in fact your education is just beginning. You're going to the master's level of education when you start actually working real world in the field. And so I think that the certification program for both the entry level at the AC Level 1 exam and then the CPC for the Certified Professional Constructor exam is a primary way and a very important way to credentialize the individual working on construction projects. Now, the reason why I think that's important is since I've worked on the industry side of it, I've worked on a lot of teams. And teams are only as good as the weakest link. And I've seen some weak teams, okay? And they're hard. They make life a lot harder than they have to be. I've also worked in the field on the contracting side as the project executive and as the owner's representative on the owner's side. And so for me, the first and most important primary element was always getting the right team members on the team. And I think that the certification sort of differentiates the competency of the individual members on the team. And if I'm going to be building a project, I want the best people on my team because it limits my risk. It limits my risk of accidents. It limits my risk of failure. It accelerates the probabilities of success, both with time and money, which that's what construction is all about. I want to give back, and I want to ensure the success of the coming generations. And quite frankly, and I'm going to get a little emotional here, is there is not quite the gift. The gift is significant when you know that you have contributed to someone developing their career that will continue to give for the span of their lifetime and impact their families. And so, to me, it's the greatest thing that I've ever done. That's part of the reason for continuing on with the education and believing so much in the certification of the exam and in continuing your development through your career. Because I tell my students all the time that when things get rough, when COVID hits or the market crashes and buildings become scarcer to be developed, what will separate you from the chopping block from all these employers is dependent upon how you're seen by your peers. Do you add value? And this third-party certification of your construction skills adds value because those owners then know that you are fully aware and you're competent to do your job. So it minimizes the risks for them. One of my messages to my students is, you are your own brand. And you have to do something to set yourself apart from your peers. Your peers today that you're going to school with, that you're all buddies with, that's all well and good, but if you go to work for the same company, you're going to be measured against one another. And when things get tight, then that may be the differentiator that means that you stay on the payroll or you get released. And so I think that's why it's so very, very important that we promote this credentialization, particularly in construction, and for the responsibility that we have to people that are housing these buildings, that you have the right people. We had an industrial client, and industrial clients, I don't know if you're aware, they tend to really focus in on the PMI credentialization because it's global and they've done an incredible job marketing themselves. The AIC and exam, the AC and the CPC exam, is the only one that focuses just on construction. It's not a management. It didn't come out of the management principles from a computer age like the PMI did. It focuses completely from a construction's perspective. It was like somebody flipped a light switch. All of a sudden, my acceptance and my credentialization to them, even though they didn't know what the AIC was, it was instant arms. Oh, great, come to the table in a very difficult situation. And they accepted me, and it gave me a position to act as a leader on that team. So let me tell you a story about an existing company in Houston, Texas. He was actually one of my peers, the first company I went to work for, David Rowe at Duratec. And they actually use the exam as training program within their organization to make sure that their people are at a certain level, a minimum level. And it's a way of filtering out those who, again, probably need to go do something else other than construction. And they've had great success with it. They're one of the biggest K-12 builders in Houston, Texas. So I think that there are firms that have realized that and have capitalized on that. I know Pepper was one of the big companies that used that out of Chicago nationally. I know that there's a couple of other firms, Sant, and it's not coming to me off the top of my head who they are. But some of the bigger organizations have realized the merit and value of utilizing the AC and the CPC exam. In addition to that, I know that the state of Texas and the state of Oklahoma are putting in their RFPs for contractors that the AC level 1 or the CPC is one way to get points towards being successful on replying to those proposal requests. And I actually had the experience when one of the largest contractors in Houston reached out to me to help me train their lead PMs to go get certified as a CPC, which would bolster their chances of getting that work. And they were successful in doing that. So I think it could be utilized a lot more than it is currently. There are firms that are working towards that end, but there's an opportunity to make it even bigger. The other thing that I think that the AIC does for people is it provides the ability to mentor and to have an association of your peers to help you continue to grow and develop your career. I have used that not too long ago through my association on the AIC board. Was going after a particular project, and one of my peers at the national level out in California had contacts who had done that type of project, and I had never done that type of project. So I was able to reach out to them and get some education about that type of building, which aided me in securing that project for our company. So it is not just about education, it's also about utilizing resources that you might not otherwise have. You know, when I came up in construction, it was 1980. And in Houston, Texas, I was one of the first women hired by a general contracting firm. And unbeknownst to me, there was a shift, a seismic shift in the construction culture in Houston, Texas. As a matter of fact, I found out later from one of my constituents that the owner of the firm got phone calls from his peers and said, "What are you doing hiring a woman?" So when I was coming up through the ranks, I didn't have anybody to mentor me. I didn't have anybody to go to ask questions. And my success has largely been because I'm just stubborn enough to work through the issues to be successful. I was raised to never take no for an answer. But a lot of people are not like that. And so it's important to me that we have a way to be able to mentor the future of our industry and to help others achieve their goals, because we all know right now, after COVID especially, well, pre-COVID, there was a workforce shortage in construction. And best I can tell, our society and civilization is not slowing down growth. We're running out of real estate and we're just going vertical with it, okay? And so to be able to have that opportunity to give back and to provide that capability that maybe it can make it easier for someone else, it's what fuels me to be involved in this organization and to give back and to create these opportunities.